Say we gon' set your day right, yeah. Na, 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 na. We gon' turn it up nice. Na, 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 na. Get ready for the time of your life. We bring the vibes and we bringing it right. We're the brunch, doing it right, doing it right. Go we on here and we ready to bring the fire. Turn the radio up. Go we on here with the brunch, take it higher. Turn the radio up. Go we on here and we ready.
Hey, it's a brighter day because you're rocking with the Brunch Bunch right here on Inspiration 1390.
The trial that's going on for George Floyd. And so I've been watching it. And sometimes, you know, when you watch movies that stir up your emotions, it gets you emotional. And this trial is getting me emotional. So yesterday, when I was looking at the trial, the prosecution actually said to one of the witnesses, he was an officer, he said, did you see the officer on trial with his knee in his neck, or does it look like from this other angle that it looks like his knee is on his shoulder? And on the shoulder is what that actually looked like. So the officer that was the witness said, yes, it looks like his knee is on his shoulder. But it is important to note that was when and after the paramedics arrived, because prior to that, the knee was on his neck. But it doesn't really matter where the knee was prior to the angle showing the different the camera showing the different angle. The fact of the matter that it was a kill knee. It was a kill shot knee. And so prior to it getting on the shoulder, it was on his neck, and that is what ultimately cost George Floyd his life. But George Floyd's losing his life has given life to so many other people. It has ignited a new resurgence of fight in people who didn't even know that they had a need to fight. So yesterday we promised to talk about the 14th Amendment, and just really shed some light on why and how so many people can actually commit crimes against other people and they are not held accountable, namely the police, but it's not just subject to the police. So when the 14th Amendment actually came to be, there was a senator from Ohio. His name was John Bingham. Look him up. And he actually crafted the heart of the 14th Amendment. And he was doing so in an attempt to right the wrongs that Dred Scott created, where there was an inequity of rights being distributed across America. So the amendments, this is something that is important to know. Amendments are hard to pass, but they are even harder to get rid of. So in 1868, Bingham successfully passed the 14th Amendment. So what does the 14th Amendment say? That all persons born and naturalized in the United States is a citizen, and therefore people of African descent that are born in the United States are citizens, right? But remember, prior to that, people of African descent were only 3/5 a person, but the 14th Amendment abolishes that. So that's when you see African Americans in America starting to thrive. That's when the commerce started to become more and more robust, but it didn't last long, because out goes that president, in comes a new president, in comes a new Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was actually intrinsic in resetting the 14th Amendment. So what the Supreme Court ultimately did was give the power back to the states. Now, it's still a huge divide, even though the Civil War is over. It's a huge divide, right, between the South and the North. And the South wanted things to stay the same, whereas the North wanted things to be different. Well, when I say they, the Supreme Court gave the power back to the states, that's when they ratified the fact that any person doing harm to another person was not necessarily responsible for the harm that they did. So that's when you started seeing lynchings with no recourse. You started seeing white people killing black people on the street and getting away with it. And so some of that is still happening today. Now, I'm not saying that the 14th Amendment is still in the state's hands, but it's certainly a climate that is not holding those who are committing these heinous crimes accountable. So if you really want to look at an in-depth account and learn this, you can look at Will Smith has done an amazing job at creating a mini movie, I should say, about how the 14th Amendment came to pass and the process of it. It gives you an in-depth account about how instrumental Frederick Douglass was. That I didn't know that he was a slave that actually came over on a slave ship. And so he gave us a first-hand account of what the conditions were on the slave ship. But what it really does is eye-opening about this 14th Amendment. I say that to connect it with the George Floyd case, because if in fact there is no accountability, if in fact we actually witness you need the life out of someone, it is because of how the progression of the 14th Amendment has come to pass.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, there's a very good documentary they did a few years ago about the 14th Amendment, too. But I'm glad, we said this yesterday, I said it yesterday, I'm glad the light is being shone on so many different things, because it's not like when Frederick Douglass came over on the slave ship where it could be broadcast on the news and you got to see the conditions. We can only really read about them, but in graphic detail from actual accounts and not just people telling what they thought. It really opens your eyes. It
does, and it also says, it gives testimony to how America, a certain portion of America, really wants and did want then black people to be in a role of servitude. There's a whole half of America that still kind of thinks that way. So our challenge is to get that half to understand that this half is not going.
Yeah, we ain't going. So what's going on? Following the shocking news that DMX-born Earl Simmons suffered a heart attack, we have received updates of the 50-year-old rapper's health status. According to the New York Times, DMX's ex-manager, Nakia Walker, confirmed that he is currently on life support and in a vegetative state. Walker also noted that some of DMX's relatives have visited him at the hospital. We're just praying, Walker said. DMX reportedly suffered a drug overdose on Friday night and was taken to the hospital in White Plains, New York. After a series of conflicting reports over the weekend, including that the rapper was taken off of life support at one point, DMX's longtime lawyer Murray Richmond confirmed that DMX is still currently on life support. It will be disingenuous for me to suggest that I'm not a worried man at this particular point, Richmond told Pix 11 News on Saturday. DMX has an ongoing struggle with substance abuse, and as recently as 2019, he checked himself into rehab after having to cancel a series of scheduled performances. As the news circulated over the weekend, many peers and fans sent well wishes to rapper DMX, including the official Versus account, since DMX was one of the headliners of a previous Versus battle as organizers prepare for their East event Sunday night. Please keep sending your love and prayers to DMX. He is a fighter and still has much more flowers to receive from the world, said the Versus account. Richmond also added that his client lit up the room whenever he entered. He expressed the pain and suffering in a very unique way, Richmond said. He truly is reflective of a whole segment of our society whose pain and suffering goes unrecorded. So we are asking you believers to continue to pray for DMX and his family. It's so sad to hear tragic news like this.
It is. And so we're a gospel station. DMX is not a gospel artist, but you know what he is? He is a man, and worthy of our prayer. And he's also had a huge contribution to music, to lyrics, people forget that lyrics are poems, and poems reflect your life, and his life has been up and down, as all of our lives have. So I really am praying for him. I was so encouraged yesterday when, like you said, some of the conflicting stories came out and said that he was off life support.
Yeah,
and now, of course, they've clarified that he is still on life support. But actually, we're all on life support, and that's why we need support. That's why it's called life support. But the vegetative state has got me concerned.
Now, my thing, and I guess I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I am a faith believer. Yes. And so when they say vegetative state, if he's in a coma, how do you really know he's in a vegetative state? But I guess brain activity is going on. But guess what? I'm going to say like James Cleveland said, I don't care if you got low blood, high blood, or no blood at all. God is still a healer, and we pray that things can turn around. Like they said, DMX is a fighter, and we're going to continue to pray and believe the God of our Savior. Because here's the deal. We win in life, and we win in death when you know God. Let me do this. I want to shout out to all of our listeners. Now, Tammy, I think we got more West Side listeners than South Side listeners.
True.
I think the West Siders love us. And I am impartial because I'm straight West Side. But everywhere I go on the West Side, I'm always stopped and said, I love your show. Today, I was calling to get me a vaccine appointment.
Go ahead with your bad.
You want to come with me and we give Matt to film it this Saturday?
I do not.
Well,
did I say that sweet enough?
You did. United for Better Living is partnering with Walgreens to give out vaccines in the community, right at our community center. And it's called Protect Chicago. Let's get back to it, Chicago. Get vaccinated through the city's Faith Initiative. The City of Chicago and Walgreens will be distributing COVID-19 vaccines to faith communities across the city. So this Saturday, April the 10th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., the UBL, United for Better Living, at 4540 West Washington, will be having free COVID-19 vaccination. Now, you cannot just show up. If you would like an appointment, you have to call 773-261-3309. 773-261-3309. No walk-ins, 8 to 12. So when I got the email, I said, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. My church, my community center is giving out the vaccination. I'm going to get it right where I know the prayer warriors will be praying for me.
Yes. Well, if I was ever on the fence about the vaccine, I'm not on the fence right now. I always said that I was going to take a wait-see attitude about it and see after all of the specimens have been specimented, and I put that in air quotes because it's my word, then I will see the reactions and see what's going on. Well, unfortunately, my stepfather took that vaccine. 4 days later, he passed away. Now, they are not correlating it to the vaccine, but you can't tell me under no circumstances that he was fine and then all of a sudden he was gone. So I am now planted on the fence, very strong. I'm sitting strong in the wind on my fence.
You planted like a tree by the river, huh?
And there you go. I'm like a weeping willow tree because those are the strongest. But what I learned over the last couple of days is, let me ask you a question first. Mm-hmm. When you get the vaccine, what do you think you're getting? Do you think you're getting a little portion of the virus so that your body becomes immune to it?
I don't know, but you know what? I'm like still on the fence, but I feel like I should just go ahead and get it because everybody I know is getting vaccinated.
Yeah, well, everybody kept saying that the world was flat, and
that don't mean get it right.
Well, the reason I say that is because I'm always telling people fact check, do your research before you do anything, make a sound, educated decision, right? So what I learned during my research is that there are 2 strains of this vaccine, and neither one of them give you a little bit of the virus. They are taken from, one company is taking it from the RNA of the virus, one company is taking it from the DNA of the virus. Both of them are insulating that S factor, that spike factor. And when it spikes, that gives the signal for that vaccine to send it out to your cells. Your cells then form T cells. I mean, not T cells, but I don't know what the cells are, but the cells form an immunity to the virus. Let me clarify that. Can form an immunity to the virus, because I also know someone right now who got both of their shots and has COVID.
Well, and it's not saying that you won't get COVID. It's saying it won't be as severe.
Exactly.
And so there's been a few things that's kind of pushed me to want to get it. Mm-hmm. One, God rest my good friend Erica, our good friend, a friend of the Brunch Bunch, Erica Watson, who tried her best to not contract COVID. Went to Jamaica, stayed a whole year during this pandemic, and succumbed to COVID and passed away. And her funeral was this past Saturday. So that was one thing. And then my pastor's wife, my first lady, is a medical doctor, Dr. Chandra Whitley. Shout out to Dr. Whitley, who is spearheading this initiative. She gave us one Sunday after church, and I wasn't prepared for it. I was ready to go. I was hungry, and after church, when you're hungry, you're ready to get up out of there.
Unless they got food. Then
then you go downstairs and you eat a little bit.
Go home.
Depending on who down there cooks. Nevertheless, no. But she gave a very good presentation on the pros of getting the vaccine. And I trust my first lady, because one time I was leaving a church service, and I felt a sharp pain in my chest. And I said, oh, God, I'm having a heart attack. And I called and told her. And she was like, Brother Marcel, it's just gas. Go to Walgreens and get you some gas. She saved my life, so I trust her.
Well, I can appreciate that. And a lot of times we make decisions based on the decisions of those that we trusted. In my book, I talk about my Aunt Babs, God rest her soul. And I'm just going to give you guys a sneak preview. But I trusted her implicitly. I was 4 years old. I had my baby believe. And she was like, well, she was ironing her clothes, right? And I was like, oh, my God, could you iron my baby doll's clothes? She said, absolutely. Go get the clothes you want me to iron. And I did. I left the baby doll there because I trusted her. When I came back, she had my baby doll on the ironing board, ironing my baby doll's clothes with her clothes still on. So sometimes the people you trust, you still got to fact check them.
You know what? You are nuts. But I'm with Aunt Baby Doll. I probably would have did the same thing.
My baby doll, she burnt her foot. And I didn't look at that baby doll the same no more, nor did I look at my aunt the same. All I'm saying in that story is, do your own research. Don't necessarily just trust the people you trust. Some of those things can work. But because of the nuances and the individuality of this and any vaccine, because it connects with your body chemistry, right? Mm-hmm. So you have variables, and it is as individual as you are. So you're going to react as individually as the next person is going to react. So for your body type, for your health or your health or non-health, you have to know what is going to connect with you successfully.
Well, that's true. And speaking of success,
yes,
Hollywood has been on a roll.
Yes, they have.
Now,
especially Black Hollywood.
Black Hollywood. And I'm just going to say Hollywood because a couple of years ago, remember they were blacking out like the Oscars, and they weren't supported because a lot of black people. The SAG Awards, we got a lot. Viola Davis got awards. Chadwick Boseman for his portrayal in
Black Panther.
No.
In the that.
My girl, I can't think of her name. The blues singer.
Yeah.
I figured out. We'll tell you. But I've been so excited because to see so many black films coming out. I don't care if they're TV movies or in theaters, which theaters are really not open. But two we just talked about.
They are in Frankfurt.
Well, two we just talked about. Genius on Peabody.
Genius Aretha.
Genius Aretha. Now, Genius is a show.
It's an episodic.
Episodic show that every season they feature someone else. So
the Facebook fans that were looking at our behind the studio segment, we talked about when Aretha's husband bust her in the face. And one of the most poignant times in that movie was when she cold-cocked him right back. Now, I'm not encouraging you all. You men, keep your hands to yourselves. But I am saying, women, defend yourselves if you need to.
Well, you know what? It was very interesting. I love history, especially black history. And, to see Reverend C.L. Franklin. Now, I've read about him. I saw the story. I knew he had the baby by the teenager in the church. But to see everything else was like, bruh was lit.
Yeah, but bruh actually symbolizes a lot of things that are going on in the church now. And as we stand in judgment, some of us, Christians, stand in judgment, lest we be judged. But I saw him in threesomes. I saw him in definite places that Christians shouldn't be. But that's where you go to get the Christian symbols for your ministry, right? Because if everybody was easy to reach, if God was easy to reach everybody, then the sinners would have no motivation to get saved, right?
Well, that's why Jesus didn't have a physical church. He went out into the world, and we have to do that more. That's called evangelism and going out in the communities, to get the uttermost, the guttermost. You want everybody to say, but now we ain't going in the bar. Now I used to evangelize at the bar, sometimes.
Well, to all the saints and ain'ts, the church doors are wide open. Just come on in.
Yeah, because Reverend Franklin went out to evangelize. He was doing some stuff. But to see, Aretha actually went through a rough life.
Yes, she did.
Those babies at 12 and 14. Yeah. And people didn't really talk about that. So it was really interesting. And even her husband met her as a 11-year-old, and married her.
And I didn't know that her sisters could sing like they do.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were backup singers. And
I didn't know she played with them like that though either. That was a little interesting. So if you haven't seen it, we haven't told you much. Watch it. And another good one, which was so good, and Valencia even said last night. Now this was refreshing to watch, and we didn't see all of the drama, drugs and alcohol. Mahalia Jackson on, is it Hulu or Netflix? Hulu. I watch it on Hulu.
Wherever it is, it's amazing. The young lady who portrays Mahalia is an actress that is to be reckoned with. I mean, she is a force.
Yes.
Literally. And not only did she put you in Mahalia's spirit, but she also went even further because she symbolized what the churches were. So Mahalia is lauded as the mother of gospel music, right?
Queen of gospel.
Queen of gospel, mother of gospel, whatever. She literally brought that character to life.
Brought it to life.
Yes, and I mean, she gave it life, and she gave it life after life.
I didn't know Mahalia was a beautician.
Well,
look, I didn't know Haley. That was cool to find out too.
Cool.
I didn't know she was a beautician and an entrepreneur that owned a beauty shop. A successful
entrepreneur. And then when she was of meager means, fed all of these people. Like when she ate, everybody on the block ate.
Yep.
I also didn't know that she took in a child who she raised as her own child, and he was a singer, a successful singer. Yes.
Sold her friend the beauty shop for $1. She was just a wonderful woman. Now, I did do my research after, because there was a part about her piano player when she quit her. And I found out that back in those days, Aretha was making $3,000 per show and was paying the piano player $100 a week.
Okay, she wrong for that.
I mean, not Aretha. I mean, Mahalia.
I know.
Mahalia.
But she was dead wrong for that.
Hey, sis. No, but I guess business is business, and what you agree to is what you agree to.
Well, too, her focus was that she didn't know all the nuances that were going on in her piano player's life. She didn't know that her husband and her were broken up, so she thought she had a family unit. But her money was used to feed the people that couldn't feed themselves. So she had a big expense, but, pay the lady.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely, if you have not watched them, watch them because we definitely want to continue to never forget. And the only way to know where we're going is to know where we come from. And that's why we have to know our Black history. We got a breaking update currently on Facebook Live. A toddler, 3 years old, was wounded on the Lakeshore Drive shooting near Grant Park.
See?
So that's what slowed you up
That's
today.
Exactly slowed me. But you know what? We have got to keep these guns off the streets, y'all. I know that's easier said than done. But when we have these random shootings, not that any shooting, if it was random or if it was targeted, is acceptable. But this is ridiculous now. Chicago, as beautiful a city as it is, as many treasures, both hidden and overt, as it has, this shooting, this crime is out of control.
Out of control.
So I'm speaking to the people who are boots on the ground, the ones that are actual criminals. Y'all, cut it out.
And I'm speaking to grandma, auntie, mama, uncle, brother who know these shooters are doing the shooting. Turn them in.
Yeah.
We got to get them off the street. See something, say something. And I said, well, I just got a little ebook. But you know what? I hate when people be like, oh, your little job or your little business. And I just did it to myself.
Well, don't minimize your magnificence. And when you have anything that's published, anything that's finished, you know how hard it is to start and actually finish something? It's super hard. So when you have finished projects and it's 3 of them, that's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Don't make me run around this studio. Well, listen, believers, I am going to this week announce a new campaign that I'm starting, Spring into Action.
There you go.
And it's with 3 ebooks to help you. But we just dedicated that song, My Name is Victory, to the baby who was shot on the expressway. We don't know the child's name, but we're naming that baby Victory because we believe that the baby will have the victory. Another update just came in. The baby was shot in the face twice.
Oh my God.
So we have to really pray for our city. But Charles said something yesterday. He said he talked to his realtor and told his realtor that he wanted a safe community for his new house. And the realtor told him it's crime everywhere.
From Grant Park?
It was Grant Park. It doesn't have to be on the west or south sides. You could be anywhere. That's why you have to pray that God continues to cover you with his blood and camp his angels around you. And be vigilant. Pay attention. Faith without works is dead. Sometimes we get a little lackadaisical with walking. We're not paying attention to our surroundings. But you gotta watch your setup.
You do.
Ooh.
But even the most vigilant of us can still be blindsided by a stray bullet. Now, twice in the face, this is a toddler. I don't know how much more vigilant she could have been. It's not on her. It's on whomever she was with. But I knew something was majorly wrong when I saw the helicopters. I look forward to the day when that happens in the hood and you have as much police presence there as you did in Grant Park. I am definitely praying for Victory and her family and whoever did it. I'm praying that they be brought to justice.
Yes, definitely.
Because a lot of times we don't catch these people. Because these cameras are out here for a reason. Now, you can catch the ones that are involved in high-profile crimes, but you can't catch the ones who are involved in low-profile crimes. And I put low-profile in quotes because all crime is criminal to the person that is affected by the crime.
Yeah, true. I'd say take them cameras down because they ain't catching nobody.
They catching the people you want to
They
catch.
I guess so. I don't know. I ain't heard one success story with them cameras yet.
I have.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. But it's all been high profile. Fact check me. It's all been high profile.
I'm gonna look into that because I never understood the importance of these cameras except Big Brother.
Well, it is Big Brother, but it's also like when you look at where you got your degree from, your law degree from, like Chicago PD, and they can pick up exactly. They can pick up from your car from when it started driving to where it stopped driving. That's real.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that you can't.
But they said they put them in our neighborhoods to protect our communities.
Well, protection means bringing them to justice.
I ain't seen many of them brought to justice, so they can't find.
That's my point. We saying the exact same thing.
But y'all can find Osama bin Laden in a cave somewhere, but you can't find Pookie who shot the block up every week for a whole summertime.
Well, while you tricking out cameras, trick them out like that.
That's it. But you know what? We are praying for that baby. We're praying for our city because guess what? Things will begin to change when we continue to pray and we continue to activate our faith by doing something about it. Listen, we are out of time, but we're not out of content. We gonna be back here tomorrow. We gonna be back here tomorrow. It's Chick Chat Wednesday. It's the first Chick Chat Wednesday of spring. Make sure you tuned in 12 to 1. We encourage you to keep Love 24 alive. Tell someone that you don't know that you love them. Tell someone that you do know that you love them. And love will begin to spread like a wildfire. Tammy, I love you.
Marcel, I love you. Believers, we love you.